Proverbs 31, 8, 9. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the right of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor and needy. This isn't from Martin Luther King, it's not from Gandhi, it's not from any other cool modern day sage. It's actually from the 3,000-year-old sage in the Proverbs. Today we look at Proverbs. This week we look at Proverbs. And we're reminded in Proverbs that a king should take care of his people. So what are some of the Proverbs that particularly grab my attention? First question in the reflection section. This one grabbed my attention. It grabbed my attention because it reminds me that we shouldn't use our own power to gain for ourselves, but we should use our power to take care of other people. Power or influence, depending on where we are in our life. Question number 2, what is the big idea across the Proverbs that you've considered? I think there's kind of 2 big ideas that I kind of drew out. You might have gotten more than me, but the first one is that kings should take care of the poor. So Proverbs 31, 8 and 9 says that. Speak up for those who are destitute. Judge fairly, defend the right to the poor. Also, like a roaring lion, I think this is Proverbs 28, 15. Like a roaring lion or a charging bear is a wicked ruler over a helpless people. Proverbs 28, 3 says, a ruler who oppresses the poor is like a driving rain that leaves no crops. It's the opposite situation to what we have in Australia at the moment, where we have no rain, which leads to no crops. But they're talking about a rain that's so vicious, maybe like hailstorms, that ruin all of the crops. That's what a ruler who oppresses the poor is like. And then all the way at the top, Proverbs 14:31, whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker, but whoever is kind to the needy honors God. We looked at that one last week as well. It reminded us that when Jesus said, whenever you took care of the poor, you took care of me. That's what a king should be like. The other big thing that I considered a big idea across all of the Proverbs is that a good king loves the truth. This one I find particularly apt at the moment, considering who our world leaders are at the moment. This is what Proverbs 16:13 says. Kings take pleasure in honest lips. They value the one who speaks what is right. No further comment. Proverbs, I think this is 17:7. Eloquent lips are unsuited to godless fools. How much worse lying lips to a ruler? How much worse lying lips to a ruler? Again, no further comment. 2 big ideas. Good kings take care of the poor, and good kings love the truth. Number 3, what questions are in your mind about the meaning or message of these Proverbs? There was one that I thought was pretty controversial. This is Proverbs 19:10. It says, it is not fitting for a fool to live in luxury. How much worse for a slave to rule over princes? I wondered about this one because it kind of seems to suggest that there's this social order that shouldn't be messed with, like slaves shouldn't rule over princes. But as I looked at the study notes in my Bible, it suggested that this isn't saying that you can't move up the ladder of society. It's saying that in the same way that a fool shouldn't live in luxury because it's not suiting to them, somebody who is a slave and therefore uneducated and indentured to somebody else won't make a good ruler. Which I can understand. That probably makes sense. They're not really equipped for the job. So that was my third one. And then number 4, have you ever lived out the wisdom of the Proverbs you've considered? Have you ever seen others do so? Tell the story. This is another week where I think there's actually no better example of somebody who's lived out this wisdom than Jesus himself, because the thing about power and authority is that absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's a proverb from modern day. The Proverbs themselves actually say something similar. A tyrannical ruler practices extortion, but one who hates ill-gotten gain will enjoy a long reign. A tyrannical ruler is somebody who's They're in charge, and it's just them, and they're not accountable to anybody else. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and if you look at modern world history, you'll see that that's the case. But when we look at our boy Jesus, the example to us of everything that a ruler should be and everything that a king should be, because he is the king of God's kingdom, we see that a king should use their power to take care of people, not using their power for their own gain. Jesus did this perfectly. He used his power to take care of people, not for his own gain. This is what he said to his disciples. Mark chapter 10, verse 41 to 45. He said, Jesus called them together and said, "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them, using their power to gain something from their people." Jesus says, not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must become a servant. And whoever wants to be first must be a slave. For even the Son of Man, so Jesus is talking about himself now, he says, even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. How good is our God? He is the ultimate authority, and he is the king and leader's example that we should follow. Yeah,